Hi all, it's Aiden here, and I am just wanting to start showing you guys a demo on how to get involved in some online chess. So what you see here is the intro page to lichess.org, which I think is a very good site to play on and learn how to improve your chess. So it's free to make an account, and there's no premium option or anything like that. So it's really a lovely site with a lot of support. All you need is an email to make an account. As you can see here, I already have an account with my password all ready to go, so I'm going to sign in and start showing you guys around. So this is the home page here. All of these different squares here are different time controls of games that you can play against other players of your strength. So you'll have, once you get started, you will be given a rating. It's called an ELO rating. It's a little bit of a complicated algorithm that determines how your strength, but as you play players, you will start to play players that are around your strength. So I want to first show you guys one of their tools, the analysis board, which is really a useful way to improve your chess. So as you can see up here, this little bar that says Stockfish. Stockfish is the name of a very strong computer engine, which you can turn on or off during your analysis. So for example, I'll just put a few moves on the board, and as you can see, it's just me playing against myself. This is a really popular and common opening called the Ruy Lopez that I am pretty familiar with and like to play myself. Anyway, this is just the first few moves, and I want to teach you guys how to both think for yourself as well as use the computer to improve your chess. So a really common move here is a6, and taking the knight is an option, but most of the time it's better to keep your bishop, as the bishop will be stronger at the end of the game. And then a very valid continuation from there is for the black player to develop his or her knight to f6. The most common move after that is castles. You might think that this pawn here is a free pawn to take, but it actually can be pretty dangerous for black. As you can see, when black takes the pawn, I will turn on the engine and see what the engine has to say. So we can immediately start some counterplay with d4. And black attacks my bishop. I retreat. Black strikes back in the center, and then I win my pawn back. So as you can see, that pawn that seemed to be free initially is now gained back, and the knight protects the pawn that I just took. So if black isn't careful, you can see that my queen could come and take this pawn as well. Only the queen defends it. That's why the computer recommends bishop e6. Anyway, this is just a little a little intro to how to use the analysis board, but we're going to get more into that later. So I'm going to return to the home page of Lichess, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to play a game against someone online. As you can see in a second, give it 1 minute to find a player. Alright, as you can see, my rating is 1995. That's pretty close to expert, but we'll see how this game goes. And I'll try to explain a little bit about what I'm thinking. So actually, we're getting right into the Ruy Lopez, and we'll see. Yep, he plays right into the variation that we were talking about. Alright, he plays a more aggressive move, bishop c5. So castling is a really good way to start developing your pieces. Now, I might not speak all the time as I'm going to have to do some thinking, but I'll try to explain some of the ideas. So he's attacking my pawn here. A natural move is to defend, but what I want to do is eventually push my pawn and then gain control of the center, right? Like I'm always talking about, we want to control the center, get our king safe, develop our pieces, right? So c3, preparing d4. Okay, he plays d6. Now, if you notice, if I play d4 right now, this pawn would be free for this knight to take. So I'm going to prepare that move with a few other moves. If I were to play rook e1 to defend the pawn, then he could play knight g4, attacking my f2 square, the very weak square. So I'm going to play h3, stopping his knight from coming here. Then I'm going to play rook e1. And now I'm ready to play d4. Alright, here we go. He will probably take. And now I'm attacking his bishop, so he'll have to move back. My pawn is now under threat from two pieces. So I think the move that I will play is knight c3. Yes, to defend this pawn. Alright, he brings his bishop out. As you can see, this bishop is on the longest diagonal. I'm going to block this diagonal with my pawn chain and force his knight to make a move. Alright. I'm not worried about his knight taking my knight because my queen will take back. But I do need to find some way to continue making progress. I think that I will play my bishop to e3, trying to maybe trade off my worst bishop for his good bishop. If he takes, I'll probably take back with the rook, not to double my pawns. So I'll pre-move that. You can actually pre-move, meaning I clicked my rook and then I clicked that square so that if he took, automatically my piece would take back. And the next move is going to depend highly on what he does. Alright, so he's trying to break open my center. I think I'm about ready to take his knight, because then I can open up my bishop on this diagonal. I am playing against a player that's about my strength, so I'm not entirely sure what the best move is here, but I'm going to take this. And then probably take his knight. Yep. Alright. Let's see if we can get some pressure against his king. So he's offering an exchange of queens here, as you can see. I think I will try to keep the position, try to keep some juice, so they say, in the position here, by keeping the queens on the board. Trading the queens off would mean that we'd get into an endgame, and there'd be less sort of firepower on the board. So I'm going to block that rank with my knight, and if he takes, I'll take back with my bishop, I believe, or potentially my pawn. It depends on how he takes, if he does. My rook is also ready to swing over and start an attack on the king side, but I have to keep an eye on this pawn. So obviously, in every game of chess too, time is always a factor. I chose to play a 10-minute game because it will give me a little bit of time to talk to you guys about what I'm thinking. So I have a few options here. I think I'm going to bring my rook to c1, attacking his bishop. I might force him to either go back or take my knight. He goes back. Alright. I think I can almost fork his rooks here. If you guys see that. Not sure if it works just yet. I have to do a little bit of calculation. So if I move my knight here, he could take my queen. I take back, and his rooks are still both in check. Yep, I think this is a pretty good move here. Because as you guys know, rooks are stronger than knights. So this way I'm going to win one of his rooks. And if he takes my queen, I will take back with my rook. So I will pre-move that. So this should be probably an objectively winning position for me, actually. Um, being that I'm not a grandmaster, it will still take some effort to close out the game. But this should be quite good. Okay, so he's attacking my bishop, but I think if I just trade queens and then take a rook, I should be doing quite well. Which way do I want to do this? Alright, let's take the queen. He's obviously going to take my queen back. I will take his rook. He might take my bishop now, in which case I'll have to retreat my knight. Otherwise, it'll be a bad trade for me. If he takes my knight, then I'll have to move my bishop, which is fine. That's probably what I would like to see happen. So if he takes my bishop and I retreat my knight, he can also take this pawn here. But I should be able to round it up with a move like rook a3. And I should be okay. Okay, he takes my knight. So I need to reroute my bishop now. I do have the advantage of the exchange, so I think if I just... I want to protect this pawn as it's under fire from two pieces, and I don't know if it's best to let the pawn go or bring my bishop here. I actually see a tactic here. So if I take this pawn, check, and he takes back, then I can bring my rook down and fork his king and bishop. That's a tactical solution to get out of that problem. He pretty much needs to take my bishop as well, otherwise I'm just gonna have a... Oh, he does not. Okay. So, yes. My position is definitely winning. I think I just bring my bishop here to defend this pawn and shut down these two squares. As you can see, his king is quite unsafe. Having two rooks, I can double them along the c-file like this and potentially have some threats. Alright, so he tries to take the open d-file. My king has an escape square here, so I should be okay to probably bring my rook down to the 7th rank, attack his bishop, and start some threats of my own. Alright, he retreats his bishop. Makes sense. I think it's time for me to double my rooks. Well, maybe I prepare that with f3 first. Now this pawn is never going to be taken, and I'm ready to start my attack. His knight is also quite hemmed in. So he's moved his knight back, which is an obvious saying that he needs to go here, but that's going to be tough for him. Alright, let's double the rooks as planned. So now I'm threatening the rook here, or potentially... See, this check doesn't really do a whole lot for him, I don't think. I can potentially put my rooks here and then double along the 7th, but he's in a tough spot. If I just put my rook here, that knight is pinned. Yep, so I'm attacking his bishop, and his knight is pinned. So now all I need to do... Okay, I can attack his bishop again, and I'm threatening to put my bishop here and win his knight. This has been a pretty clean game, so I'm glad you guys got to witness this one. He possibly will even resign at this point. Alright, he keeps fighting. Let's see. I think this is a very strong move, taking with the bishop. Taking with the rook would check him, but he could just move the king. Now his king can't even move, and when my bishop moves, it will be check. So I'll be able to attack something with it. Alright. Let's even play this. Attack his bishop, threaten to take this pawn. Totally winning position. It's all about converting it now. Ooh, okay. That can't be good for him. I must have a checkmate coming in here somewhere. I can always take the bishop, and that's totally winning. But there's gotta be an even better move. They say when you see a good move in chess, look for a better one. Alright. So if I go here, check. He has to go there. Check. Well, I can always gobble this pawn, and then when he's in check, he has to move here, and now I can take his bishop, and there should be no coming back from this. Yes, I'm threatening rook here, and then rook here, and that'll be checkmate. He can eat my bishop, and that's fine. His only chance would be to somehow get a pawn to the end of the board, but it's just not gonna happen. Check. He's got no moves. Checkmate. Good game. Alright. That was good. So anyways, what I was talking about before is the analysis board, right? And I think one of the best ways to improve is to look over your games. So when you're finished with your game, you can click on the analysis board, go back to the beginning of the game, like so, and using a chess engine, using the Stockfish on, you can click through your game and see what the computer recommends. There must be, obviously I'm not one of the best players in the world. I'm sure I made some small mistakes here and there. So for example, the computer prefers slightly a few different moves, but in the beginning of the game, often different moves are okay. I want to see when I get to the middle game what kind of how accurately I play it, basically, if the computer likes the kinds of moves I made. So for example here, I guess h3 was a little bit irrelevant, so to speak, because I had a normal advantage and I was ready to push d4 or a4 as the computer is showing here, but I chose to play h3 to prevent the bishop coming in. So it's still fine. The computer still thinks that I'm up 2/10 of a pawn. So we'll see how the game continues. It thinks the position's about even, which is pretty typical for players of my strength. And now it did not like d4. That's interesting. It actually likes black's position after the bishop retreats. Okay, but taking was a mistake on his part, if you can see that. So now it's about an even position. It likes my knight to c3 move. Bishop there is good. I close the position. I guess knight a5 would have been a clever move for him, which he missed. And now so I guess I kind of missed some of his ideas that he could have played, including the pawn storm or taking my knight directly. But after he took, I think I was okay here. And most of my moves seem pretty principled. No major blunders or anything, just slight inaccuracies. But when you're playing with time and you're playing against someone that's not a super grandmaster and you're not either, this is pretty typical. So it still thinks the position's about equal. I have a tiny advantage. We'll see how. See there, that was his first major mistake. As you can see, the evaluation just jumped from 0.2 to 1.4. So I'm not even up actually a pawn objectively on the board, but it thinks I'm up more than a pawn in terms of position. And just taking his knight would have been a very strong move. I attacked his bishop, he retreated, and now I'm up 5 pawns. That is like a completely winning scenario. And it must be to do with a few things. Okay, so taking his knight would have been better. Let's see why. If I would have taken his knight, then it says the best move would have been to take back. And yeah, I just have too much. I'm just overloading him, attacking his queen and then attacking the weak f7 square. His best move is to retreat, and I'm going to win an exchange like this. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't see that during the game. But what I did was still a good move. I'm still up two almost 3 pawns is pretty much a winning position in chess. Obviously at lower levels it's harder to convert, but as you get better and better, when you're up this much, you should be able to finish up the job. He should have taken my bishop as I thought, but my tactic was correct, and now I just have a totally winning position. Yeah, and at this point there's not too much sense of going through the rest of the game, but it doesn't look like I made too many real mistakes here. But I like to click through just to see if I had any kind of special tactic or anything. But no, this is just a totally winning position, and it likes the way I played. Cool. And now I guess there's a checkmate in 7. That's what this hashtag is. Checkmate in 4. Checkmate in 5. Okay, I didn't play perfectly. 2, 5 again. Alright, so yeah, I didn't play the most precise moves, but I was winning the whole time. And game over. Alright, well, I just wanted to introduce you guys to Lichess. This is a site that I'm hoping you'll be able to make an account on, and then if we are able to have live video classes during these strange corona times, I'd be happy to teach you guys some stuff. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and feel free to contact me. My email is hite.aidan, that's HITE.AIDAN @gmail.com. Alright, I hope you guys are all staying safe. Enjoy.